Hey, hey.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing good, doing good. Wish I
We're
could say
having
the
a
same.
few little gremlins tonight, so we're sorry
Oh,
we're
yeah.
running a little late.
Yeah, yeah. These ones, like I said, these ones meant business. They weren't messing around. Yeah. Was completely locked out of my Facebook account. Just had changed the password and it froze in the middle of changing the password. Took me like 3 different attempts to change it.
Wow.
Yeah, all kinds of fun stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But we're here, and we have a special guest.
Yes, we
This
do. His,
evening. Yes, we
you
do.
want to introduce him?
Yes, his name is Raymond. Now his last, how do you say his last name again? It's
Newsome? I hope I got that right,
Newsome.
Raymond. Let's bring him
and
on.
he
He said, yeah.
and he is there. He is. Hey, Raymond, how are you?
Raymond.
Hi, how are you all?
Good.
Well, fabulous. Um, so now I've been under a lot of stress, so I might have. Hopefully, I didn't get this wrong. You're an author, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Okay. Well, I'm sure I read that. Um, and so you want to talk a little bit about your involvement in the paranormal and your book, and just what makes you the next, the interesting thing here in the paranormal field.
I mean, I don't know if I'd say I'm the next interesting thing, but I like to bring a little fun to my investigations for sure.
No, that's important.
Absolutely. I've learned in my investigations that between showing respect and just having fun in general, spirits are more likely to speak to you than if you're just being a jerk.
Well, that's true. That's true. Well, no, you gotta have fun at doing what you're doing. If you don't have fun, then there's not really any sense in doing it. So so you take a more kind approach when you're dealing with spirits.
Absolutely.
Right on. That's definitely good. So do you what got you into this this field of research?
I mean, I've had experiences since I was a kid, but growing up in the valuable belt, you can't really talk about things like that, especially in the 80s and 90s. It was that was a big no-no. You didn't talk about it, you didn't express interest in it, even though I had troubles hiding my interest in it because I explored different religions, different methods of thinking and stuff, and so that raised some red flags for a lot of family members and a lot of people that I knew from church. But it was just the things that I couldn't explain that happened around me. And around 2008, 2009, I had a couple of open heart surgeries, and things really started ramping up around me. My brother could even tell you one night we were sitting up watching TV, and you see a hand reach around the corner of the room in the doorway, a head peek through at us, and then dip back, and then you see the hand pull away.
Wow, that's
first response. We jump up, we start finding a camera, taking pictures, you name it. We tried it, didn't catch anything, but we gave it an effort.
Yeah, they don't cooperate. Usually it's kind of hard to get them to cooperate. They're pretty good at that. When you're ready for them, they never show up. It seems like. But now, do you feel that? Now, this was after you had some surgery performed on you, and
yeah.
so that made a big difference in your own perception of the paranormal. Like you were able to it did something to where you're able to see and sense more than what you could before.
Definitely.
So do you think that had to do with did you have a near-death experience, or very close to death? Or
I mean, I was at one point, if the aneurysm I had first, they wouldn't have been able to get down the hallway to me, much less to the operating room. I'd been dead instantly.
Yeah.
And whenever they did the first surgery, I lost 24 hours. I woke up the next day and thought it was that evening until I saw the Today Show on. I was like, "What day is it?"
Yeah. So, so from that experience, the big question is, what happens when we die? And there's a lot of study into near-death experiences, and people seem to have some kind of a profound experience, or they don't experience anything, and they're trying to figure out whether they just if they don't remember it, but there definitely is a lot of evidence that supports that. Did you have anything like that, or did you just wake up and you lost time, or?
It was mostly waking up and losing time, because where it was, the anesthesia, I was chemically induced to go under subconsciously.
Mhm.
There wasn't a whole lot of, conscious remembrance as far as what happened from the time they put me under the first time to the time I woke up the second time, because they actually had to take me back in that day, which is why I lost 24 hours.
Mm. Well, they say that like when they. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, started paying. I was bleeding heavily still. They had to go back in and repair something because there was way too much blood loss going on. So they had to take me back in.
So, like when they put you out, it's like, isn't that like they say it's one stage before actual death? Like you're not aware like how long you've been out or anything. So I've never been put out for surgery.
Yeah, pretty much. Definitely the second time was just as harrowing. I caught staph infection.
Ooh.
And when I went into the ER, when I made it to the ER, they said my top number and my blood pressure was in the 40s. My bottom number didn't exist. They didn't know how I was alive, much less talking to them.
Wow.
And my goofy ass is like, well, I'm laying here cracking jokes. So,
Well, at least, well, heck, yeah, I guess that's a good attitude to have. They probably had you on some pretty good stuff though, right? To make you comfortable probably while you were there.
When I made it to the ER, in the ICU, I was on 8 broad spectrum antibiotics.
Oh yeah. Oh, no. Well, shoot.
Which is probably enough to kill a normal person. So.
Oh yeah. And that was with the staph infection that they put you on all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, staph's pretty hard to. It can be hard to get under control. I have a friend of mine. His brother got. I'm thinking of a staph on his lungs. Is a real weird deal, and he spent like 6 months in the hospital because of it. And yeah, it can be bad stuff.
I spent about a week and a half in ICU. Then I finally got moved to a regular room, and they had to redo the surgery because of the vegetation that went onto everything that they replaced the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was 3 hours after they brought me out of surgery. Like woke up with the breathing tube still in my throat. I hit the light, they come in, I just wave at them.
Well,
at least you didn't panic.
Well, they say attitude's everything, and positive outlook. And how long ago was this that you went through all this?
The second one was 2009. It was 15 months after the first one.
So I take it you're feeling a lot better now than what you used to.
Well, the thing about valve replacements is they last from 12 to 15 years.
Oh.
And last August made 15 years, so I'm getting close.
Well, you got to realize they're not always right about that. I've known a lot of people that have had procedures that weren't supposed to last, very long, and they're still going strong. It's I guess did it make you appreciate life a whole lot more, like after all that?
100%. I try not to take life seriously because I know it's short.
Yeah, no. True.
So I try to enjoy each day as much as possible. And a lot of people will probably look at me as immature or just goofy or whatever, but you can only do what you can to make yourself happy.
Well, there's this rule that somebody made up a long time ago, and I really don't like it, to be honest, is that in order to grow up and be an adult, you have to stop doing everything you like. Don't enjoy anything. Basically just a humdrum. Life of stress and responsibility, and until you die. And I don't really agree with that. I think you can have a good time, and you can still laugh, and you can still enjoy life, and you're still growing up,
I was
I agree
watching
with that.
before I popped on here, so
You're watching which one?
Demon Slayer.
I thought that's what you said. Yeah.
Yeah. So and you wrote a book or is it
I've
one book?
written 5.
How many? 5?
5.
Oh wow. Oh, awesome.
They range everywhere from just a very, very short book, which is a Raven Hollow, and it's only like 60, 70 some pages, to Rise of the Fallen, which is over 700 pages.
So are they like fantasy type novels, or are they based on real characters, or?
No, not really. They are very, very much fiction.
Mm-hmm.
I even have a children's book, which is called The Adventures of Pip, Squeak, and Bob. That one is loosely based on real people, which is my son, my nephew, and my oldest daughter. And the stories they used to tell me about the games they were playing. So that's how that book came along.
That's neat.
But for example, I'm Brian. That is a serial killer novel I wrote in first person.
Oh, well, I take it that one's based on. That's not really based on your real hobbies, I hope.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
But it was a very, very dark book to write, and there was
I bet
involved. Brian didn't like to talk until I was actually sitting down and writing, so there was no outline, nothing.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, you got to kind of go to that. Would be you have to kind of take on that role, huh? As that character for a while.
Yeah, especially when you're writing in first person.
Yeah. Very interesting. So, what's the most, I'll say the most interesting, or one of the most memorable or interesting cases you've worked on in the, doing what you do, as far as being a researcher, paranormal researcher?
I find them all fascinating.
Oh, they are, yeah.
Each place offers something incredible, and you never know what you're going to get from night to night.
That's true.
But like I said, I've learned that you catch more flies with honey than you do with sugar. So, I walk into each place, I introduce myself, I thank them for their time. I say, I hope you share your story with me.
Right.
And that will typically get more interaction than most things.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that they're against the whole taunting aspect of it. The being a prick, when you go into places, and then there's places that or teams that they really have a lot of faith in that method. So have you ever ran into anything that you felt you couldn't be nice to, that wasn't having it?
I mean, a couple of things.
Yeah.
But most of the time and stuff, once there's a respectful boundary set between myself and it, then we usually communicate very well. Unless I was on a house cleansing case of spirit mechanics, then, when you're removing something, everything gets thrown off the table after a certain point because that thing's leaving.
Well, nothing's happy at that point either. Probably not happy.
Exactly.
I get cursed a lot and called all sorts of names and screamed at and growled at, and
that's it's kind of funny though. I mean, some of the names I've got this file has just got nothing but all these names that I've been called over the years, and some of it's pretty creative actually. It's funny because some of the stuff that I probably couldn't air it on the show, but it's do you find that stuff kind of funny when it happens, when things come up with the vulgarity that comes out of some of these things? And
oh yeah. It get interesting fast.
Very so you can really see that that there's you can kind of, it's like if you dealt with somebody that's a not a very nice individual, like in real life, you can definitely see the similarities, and like
if you're a jerk in life, you're a jerk in
Yeah.
death. That's typically just how it works.
right.
Exactly.
The personality doesn't change.
No, and so do you find yourself running into typically more positive type?
Most of the time,
entities?
yeah. Even in places that people wouldn't expect it.
Yeah.
One of my favorite examples is Bobby Mackey's.
Oh yeah, Bobby Mackey's. Never been there, but it's got it's.
Everybody hears the story about it being a portal to hell and this
Oh
and that.
yeah.
And it's false. It is a bar.
Well, I think a lot of that's just probably a lot of hype to get people to go there. Not saying that there isn't anything negative there, but they've never been able to actually validate that story, have they? With the whole with the girl's head that got thrown down the well and all that.
Not that I'm aware of, because I've tried to do research. I couldn't find the story. They had a quote unquote copy of the story on the wall in the building.
Yeah.
But that is the only place I've ever been able to find it. So
but the two characters that supposedly killed the girl and all that, did they validate them as real characters or not? I've heard
not to my knowledge.
not yet. It's kind of. It used to be a slaughterhouse.
Typically going to the bar to hang out with the spirits that were a rated party.
Yeah. Well, then
when you bring up party, they're ready.
Several Hollywood guys went in there. One guy got scratched. You probably know the episode I'm talking about. And
yeah, I know.
it's but yeah, people that probably got a lot of attention, and people wanted to come see what it was all about. I had a chance one time to go check it out, but I wasn't able to go. So and a lot of those places, I don't think, and I have a theory on things. It's like those aren't going to be the most active locations that you're going to investigate, throughout the years. Usually the places that aren't really.
I mean, Mackie is usually one of those. It's when you think that nothing is going on around you, as long as you're talking and having a good time.
Mm-hmm.
When you go back and listen to the
footage, you get lots of stuff.
That's when we're catching voices.
Yeah, that's interesting how that works. That's usually how it is. Like if you're talking to somebody or whatever, they'll pipe in, and it makes me wonder if that has to do with. I had all these theories, like how spirits speak and why they do what they do, and one of the theories I had was that they actually use different tones out of environmental noises to form their words, and when you're speaking, they have a lot of material there.
Well, I've also gotten disembodied voices there too.
A lot of audible ones you can hear.
Yeah, like right here next to my head and picking up my camera across the room.
Sure.
Oh.
Sure.
That loud.
Sure. Yeah, those are interesting. Yeah, that's so how does it rate on the locations you've been to as far as being actually?
Mackey's is definitely one of my favorites, and I've been to Gettysburg. I've been all over Kentucky. I've been to Old Hospital on College Hill, in Williamson, West Virginia. I'm probably butchering that name, and I apologize because the people that run it are wonderful. I've been to Ohio State Reformatory. I've been to places in Tennessee, Texas, you name it. I've tried to visit it. Actually, a place in Texas is what got me back into investigating almost 4 years ago, because I had to take a long break there and went on vacation in Texas and visited a place called Bishop's Palace. If you haven't heard of it, it's an old house in Galveston, Texas. And I caught a picture that I could not explain, because I was taking a picture of all the old architecture, because I love history. It's one of my favorites. And I was standing still taking this picture of this mirror, and all the color swirls, and there's a figure with a hat and eyes staring at me beside the mirror. And I was like, oh, okay. And So I was like, okay, I've got to start doing more research. I've got to start getting more evidence, and that led me right back down the path.
There's we have a lot of odd stuff out here and where I'm at, and a lot of strange, really active locations. And there's one location where this individual, and we were just talking about this case, that's why it popped in my head, is it was in Camas, Washington, and it was, this guy claimed that he had something under his bed. Now, I mean, some of these claims are outlandish, but until you go, actually check it out, for yourself. And this one happened to actually be a lot of, this was very, very, he was being legit what he was reporting. This thing was under his bed, and it would harass him at night. And it wasn't something that like a spectral entity, like you could, like your classic, how you picture a spirit. This thing looked like a little creature, character or something. And of course, I'm very skeptical when I go into this, like very, very skeptical. And he shows me he sends me a film on his iPhone where this thing got a hold of his iPhone, and the camera's on the iPhone because he's trying to capture this thing doing its thing. And it pulls it under the bed, and there's an eyeball looking into the camera and blinking and all kinds of stuff. And I was like, what in the world? So we went to check this thing out, and sure enough, yeah, it was legit. It would snatch like jewelry and stuff. So we tied a bracelet onto the end of a string and threw it under there, and it grabbed it with so much force I couldn't even hang on to it. And all kinds of stuff. The guy ended up thinking that this thing was his deceased daughter, and there's like a lot of. He said that there's no reason for it to be there. I guess they lived at a location that used to be an ancient another Native American site. There's a lot of those around this whole region here, and some of the evidence that we got was crazy. But it reminded me of the story of your face in the mirror. There were a couple of my team members. One of them didn't even want to go in there because it weirded him out so much. But he's sitting in the car and he's filming inside the car, and the plastic, part of the plastic interior, morphed into this perfect face, and he's filming it like as it's happening, and it was just insane. It was crazy, and it like reminded me of your story that you were saying, because he's like, dude, there's just a face that's morphed out of the plastic out here. So I run out there and it's not there, but he's got the film, and he shows me the film, and I was like, man, that's because it's one of those things. Just when you think you've seen it all, you see something like that. And I'm very skeptical about that kind of weird, stuff. But seen stuff like that, and things I thought were not real phenomenon. Moving statues, thought that was BS until I documented that. And I guess the question is, what's the most bizarre thing you've ever witnessed? I'll give this.
The most bizarre thing I've ever witnessed, I don't know. There's quite a bit.
Yes. I mean, what we do is bizarre, period. I mean, there's not.
With Spirit Mechanics, first home case, we went to this place, and the entire time we were building up, because the clients left, and we were getting ready to start doing what we do, and we were starting to antagonize it to be ready to take and fight. That way we can get rid of it, because it had been hiding the whole time. And the wind picks up and just hits that house with full force. And before we even get everything completely finished, as night fell and stuff, there wasn't a cloud in the sky, but it was snowing on that property, and only on that property.
Yeah. And yeah, stuff like that. No, it is
an interesting moment.
Yeah.
Madison Seminary, I was there with some friends, and me and one guy were upstairs playing with some of his equipment and getting interactions and stuff. And from down the hallway where there's nobody, because everybody else is 2 floors down, and me and one guy we hear a scream, and there's nobody around.
Oh yeah.
So
like
it's
out of the blue, like a blood curdling scream, like come out of somewhere in there, huh?
Yeah, and I was just like, "What the hell was that?"
Yeah. When that stuff happens, it kind of like it more than scary. It kind of like catch it. You know, it just you're kind of like excited about it. You know, like you haven't really
Always, especially when I get to catch it on camera.
Oh yeah, well that's always nice. Yeah, I've had the same thing happen where there was a location that there was nothing really going on, and then there was, well, for the people claim that that this thing would before it showed up, you could smell tobacco burning, like pipe tobacco, and yeah, we're sitting there, and all of a sudden we started smelling pipe tobacco, and of course nobody smoked in the entire house, and we were the only ones there, and then that kind of calmed down. Then all of a sudden there was a scream. I mean, out of the blue, like a blood curdling scream, and it came from the bedroom. We went in there, and there was really nothing there when we went in there, and it was just a few things like that, but it's very dramatic. Like when it happened, it's just like out of the blue. And also there was a location that where I was living. There was around, I think it was around 2:00, 2:30 in the morning. There's nothing out there. It's like this RV park. There's nothing out there. It's just like a desert. And you would hear what sounded like, only way that I can describe it is sound like a woman being murdered, screaming for help. And it was the most disturbing sounding thing, but it happened like every other night. Like you hear this, and to the point that somebody was calling the authorities, and they came to investigate it. And I remember we went out on the property to see if we could tell where it was coming from, and we were actually out there when it happened, but it sounded like it was like all like coming from all directions. Like we couldn't really pinpoint where it was coming from, but it's pretty bizarre. And come to find out, I guess there was like a woman's prison out on in this next to this place, I guess. And
wow.
But way back in the day, and there's stories of that being haunted. There's some really odd stuff, bizarre stuff that happened out there. But yeah, that's always a little bit disturbing to hear something like that. You know, it's just crazy. You know.
I mean, 100%. And to answer Peyton's question, I have not made it to Joliet prison in Illinois yet. It is on the list. It's just I haven't made it that far. Eventually.
Where was that? What location was that? Did somebody ask that in the room? I must have missed it.
Yeah, Pam Harris asked the question.
Mm-hmm. What was the name of the location?
Joliet prison in Illinois.
So the prisons are always a good bet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Ohio State Reformatory was a lot of fun. And I was one of those people that was crazy enough to just grab my gear and take off without anybody else. Wandering through that prison. I'm like, I want to go say hi to some friends.
Yeah. No, that's always fun, you know, when you get to explore a new location like that. Have you ever been to
visit it the year before during incarceration, which is a big music festival? And even on the crappy phone app, I was getting conversations and hearing papers rustle in the hospital wing and people moaning. And I walked past one cell and I heard, I just want to kill them all.
Oh, that's nice.
And I was like, you're my new best friend. I want to come back and see you. And that was where I went first.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, it makes sense. You know, prisons are a place where, you know, not a lot of good people hung out, you know.
It was a bloody situation there. So
yeah, there was a in Troutdale, Oregon. There's this location. It's the McMinivans. They own all these historic locations, and they buy up haunted locations and they restore them, and they'll turn them into like bars, or they'll turn them into hotels, or you know, stuff like that. And there was it was a whole community. It was like a poor farm, like back in the day, like when people got in trouble, they kind of, you know, put them out on this compound, and they had to like fend for themselves. Well, the place was shut down. You know, it got closed down back in like the 40s or something, and then it sat for like quite a few years. And there was I guess some people did some satanic rituals in there or something, but they bought it. The Minivans bought it, and it turned into this huge resort with an amphitheater, and a lot of famous musicians play there and stuff. And the main building is they have a hotel, and they have a bar on the property and all this. It's huge. And the old jail they turned into something. It's kind of neat. But going through there, kind of like what you said about the voices kind of piping like off as you walk by. The stuff that we got on our audio was just insane. Like, it was a lot of stuff, a lot of comments. Some of them were funny. Like this voice kept going, this raspy voice. We kept picking up, going, "We got to get off this party bus," whatever that means, you know. And it was pretty interesting. We got to stay in this one of the houses on the property was known as the Athena House, and the administrator, I guess back in the day, he had a daughter that disappeared, and they never found her. They named the house after her. Well, the place was so haunted that nobody wouldn't like to go in there. I mean, they just kind of, they didn't even like rent it out to people. That was their plans originally, because it's like a 2-bedroom upstairs and just like a little kitchen and living room downstairs. Well, they're telling me that, like, you know, it's so haunted that in fact, like, this furniture slides around by itself upstairs and all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever, you know. So we go out there and they let us in there. And first thing that happens is the doors won't open. All this stuff starts to happen. You know, it's weird. And we get in there, and I just sat our equipment bag down in one of the chairs in the China hatch. All the doors open and the bag flies off on the floor. And I was like, whoa, okay. So, I mean, from the minute we got in there all night long, there was so much ridiculous stuff moving around. And there's something that kept coming down the stairs and peeking around the corner. And upstairs, you could hear the furniture sliding and hitting the wall. Like there was like a love seat. We couldn't get up into the room because the lock malfunctioned. But it was just insane, the activity that was in there. So if you ever get a chance to check that place out, it's a good one.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I know Octagon Hall is extremely active like that too.
Octagon Hall, yeah, I've heard of that one.
Yeah, it's in southwestern Kentucky. They're in Franklin, Kentucky. And from the time we walked into that building to the time we were leaving, there was stuff going on.
Oh,
in
yeah.
fact, I was running down the stairs.
Yeah.
As we were walking out the door.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, insane how some of those places are so active like that. Yeah, there's anything make events. Like there was this when we investigated the house, we got to investigate a lot of other locations that were haunted. There's one area that they called the Bell Tower is what they call it, and I guess they had it was like an orphanage or something back in the day, like during World War II, and they took us behind this wall, and the public wasn't allowed to go back here. So they showed us where the kids had been kept, and there's like this rope ladder made out of like rope and sticks hanging down out of the ceiling. My buddy Ben goes running up there, and there's this real deep growl, and it sounded like all these kids go, "Climb the ladder," like all at once. And he's just like, and the guy, which is weird because the guy he's a minister, and he had even performed exorcisms before. So you don't think he'd be like spooky about this stuff, but he got. Yeah, the poor guy, he didn't have very good nerves. Like the Liberty Bond audio that you like, that Gwen likes.
Yeah.
Still there. Yeah, he was there, and that was the end of his ghost hunting career. This guy Ben, I'm talking about, that he had been, like I said, the guy who performed exorcisms and like legit guy, and that was just too much for him, man. He'd never go back again. He tapped out. That was it. So he didn't have a real good. His nerves were kind of.
I mean, there's one place I'd love to be able to get into. I know they would never, ever in a million years, let me investigate that place. It was the first college I ever attended, which is Alice Lloyd College in Pippa Passes. And the experiences that not only I had, but other students had, are off the charts because it was every part of the campus.
Where was that? What college?
Alice Lloyd. It's just a little tiny independent college down in Pippa Passes, Kentucky, which is.
Have you asked them?
I have not, but I know how the people that run it are, and there's no way they would let me investigate. One example, when a friend and I was sitting in what they call the CAC building, which is just like the art center, and it has a lot of the classrooms and the theater auditorium space for like plays and choir performances and such. We were sitting on the end of the stage just talking, but we noticed Way up in the back, it kept getting darker, and the lights were still on, and that darkness just kept getting closer and closer and closer. And it was 3 rolls back when we bolted out that door, and when we turned around, it was pitch black. You couldn't see a thing.
Oh yeah.
And we walked out of the building and looked through the door back at it, and you could see the light through the window again.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there's I've seen that actually happen, like we were talking about where the rooms get darker like that. There's actually something that followed me home one time years and years ago that did that, where it had I was new at doing this, so I didn't realize I was learning as I was going, which wasn't I kind of did this. I was strange. I didn't do any research or read up on what I should do or shouldn't do or ways to protect myself ahead of time. I just went out and exposed myself to this stuff, and thing followed me home. And what's really weird is that it was actually in a building I worked at, and it was a historic library, and this whatever was there, it was so bad that nobody wanted to even work in the building, and they couldn't shut the building down because the county was getting a lot of their government grants through that, because it was for all the historic buildings.
Mm-hmm.
So they had me working in there, and the place was definitely haunted, and it was a lot more one of the only cases I've ever had that I consider potentially dangerous because of the activity was so insane. But long story short, this thing had followed me back. Well, these strange things started happening. Like, for one, I started hearing my cell phone ring, and I go to answer it, and it wouldn't be ringing. So and I heard that like the entire day, like all day long, and I just got to where I didn't even pay attention to it because I thought it was. I work nights, and I thought I was just hearing things, maybe lack of sleep or something, and when I was home, I'd sensed this. I mean, something wasn't right. It was off, and I just couldn't really put my finger on what was going on. Well, I got off work, and my girlfriend at the time, she was home, and she was at my place, and I went and kind of sat down on the couch, and my cell phone goes, well, but I think I'm only hearing, my cell phone goes, starts ringing, and I just ignore it because I'm not thinking she can hear it because my cell phone isn't ringing, it's not lighting up, nothing. And she goes, "Hey, are you gonna answer the cell phone?" And I don't know what, but it's just like this. It just clicked in my head. I was like, "Oh, whoa!" And then I automatically, somehow, I thought, "Hey, this is this thing that obviously followed me home." Well, before I could say anything, like, there was this light above my head that was like anchored into this concrete wall that this is a nail anchored in concrete, and it was like one of these plastic like stoplights, fake stoplights that has the changing lights. Well, something jerked it off the wall straight down so hard that it ripped the nail out, and a chunk of concrete about this big around. And when it hit, my head, it just exploded everywhere. And that happened. That phenomenon. The room got dark, like in layers like that. This thing came like into the room, and it was even like I could reach out into like the area that was dark, and all the hair would stand up on my arm, like it's like a static charge. Well, so I was just like, "Hey," I told it to leave, and it made this noise in my ear and took off, and that was it. And then didn't see it after that. But it was definitely strange. I mean, it was it was one of those things that gotta be careful what you do because they do follow you home. Now, but I haven't had anything follow me home in a long time. It's like I don't know if I'm just not as interesting as I once was, or the fact that do no good now. But,
what did your girlfriend do when that happened?
Oh, that was traumatized. There's a lot of experiences that different people had with me that were long lasting. Yeah, there's one of those things that years later I talked to her about it, and she still remembered that.
Oh, of course.
It's been above everything else. So it was just it was one of those ones. It was interesting, and then I that didn't teach me, so I went back and messed with it again, and when it followed me back the second time, it wasn't messing around. That's a whole different story. But so
I've heard part of that.
Have you? Well, yeah. It's definitely an interesting experience. Speaking disembodied sounds, that this thing would speak to you. It would Thank you, Pat. Thank you. It would it would speak to you. I've never ran into anything like it since, where you didn't have to listen back on your audio. It would speak out of thin air, and you can understand what it was saying. And I thought, oh man, all these, I'm like, all these demons can do that, right? They can, because I hadn't had any experience doing it, but this thing was definitely something different, and I've never ran into anything like it since. But I've got some really interesting evidence from that whole thing, and yeah, this thing definitely was different. That's, and I'm compiling some like a compilation of evidence. I'm still putting together, Gwen, that from some of the
Yeah, I need you to, if you would, and
send
this
it
has
to
nothing to do with it, send me the evidence from where we did the live at the
Oh,
Belmont.
I'll do that. I have that extracted. I just keep forgetting. I'm
It's
sorry.
okay. So Raymond, I have a question for you. I was looking your books up. I was gonna show them so everybody could see. And is there another author that has your same name, or because I'm
There
coming up?
shouldn't be.
I'll show you. I'm coming up with it looks like 10 different books. Does your series have different?
What is originally Rise of the Fallen was a series of novellas, and where it's all the same story, I just kind of melded it into one book. So the same thing with The Adventures of Pip, Squeak, and Bob, where it was all the same story, but it's broken up into 3 parts. I eventually just melded it into one book. Because
I'm gonna show you what I have, and maybe you can give a little bit of
easier than.
All right, so let's see. Can you see this one?
Yeah, that's the first part there.
Okay, so that's part of it. I was getting confused. I thought I had a different author, and I wanted to, show anybody out there. Okay, and this is
The Witches of Raven Hollow. That is me.
That is you.
That is a little horror story that it's gruesome from beginning to end, and I love it. Those witches do not mess around one bit, and the youngest one is the most violent. So,
gotcha. So let's see what else I have.
There's the children's book.
Children's book. Is that like real artwork, or is that like a? That's pretty cool.
That is an image that I found that was free floating, pretty, and I just kind of tweaked the image a bit, and of course enlarging the picture so you only mainly had the door and stuff.
That's cool. And then we have
that's the full story of Rise of the Fallen. That's
the full one. Okay. Yeah. And then you have, let's see,
that's obviously the last part to Harbor of Lost Souls.
Right. It didn't download in order. I apologize.
And Corruption of Pangea. That is my take on superheroes, actually. Pangea is a island city that I created out of my vast imagination. And it's basically a bunch of people that come together to face a corrupt city state and the people that actually run it instead of the government.
And let's see, what else do we have?
There's I Am Brian.
Right, yeah. That makes my head go, okay.
Yeah. So, a lot of those come with trigger warnings because there's a lot of violence, there's a lot of sexuality in them, and there's a lot of language. Gotcha. And the fun thing about I Am Brian is you don't know how much of his story is true because it's a sociopath telling the story.
Okay, I got you.
So
yeah, interesting.
That's even a question for me. There's part 3 of Rise of the Fallen, which is Blood and Brimstone.
Okay. And then
that one's part of The Adventures of Pip, Squeak, and Bob. That's the second part.
Okay. And then
there's the second and last part to Rise of the Fallen.
All right. Well, I wanted to show some of your work, so I was trying to.
But Son of the World came together from basically very much along the same lines as I Am Brian. It started out as an idea about a serial killer and a list of names, and it evolved into something completely different. And I loved watching the evolution just unfold in front of my eyes as I wrote it, because it was just as exciting for me as it was anybody else that got to read some of it as I went. And because it became the main character had a blood pact with fallen angels and demons, and eventually finds out that he is actually half archangel and ends up becoming part of them to take and fight these fallen angels who regain their ability to take and come into the 3D world, basically into the world with humans, and just start causing chaos to take over. So
Okay. Well, I'm gonna check it out. I hope everybody else does too. So, and I'm sorry, Chad. I wanted to show his work.
Oh no,
so.
no, that's fine.
Yeah.
No need
I'm
to
just curious, and I
No,
we
no,
like
that's
to
very-
promote.
that's good. That's good. No, absolutely. So, do you have anything? Do you have any anything in the works or plan for the future? Like any?
I have a few that I'm working on. One is kind of a prequel to Rise of the Fallen, which is actually based on Lucifer and Samael. And then I have the second part to the Pangea series called The Truth of Pangea, where a lot of things start coming out and then start unfolding and stuff. And then I have one that is called The Sin of Man, which is about a medium who's telling his story at the end of his life.
Interesting stuff. So, do you have you ever studied demonology or anything like that? Like, do you take real characters from the actual, from mythology and put them like Adam's characters in your books, or do you do research on that?
A lot of it is just basically stuff. Whatever comes to me is how I write it. Other than tightening up the wording and stuff, very little is ever actually changed in the books.
Nice.
So as far as the way the story flows and stuff, not much has changed from the first draft. I just, tighten up the grammar and try to make it easier to read and make sure it flows and this and that. But other than that, the story is the way it came to me whenever I first wrote it.
Interesting. So, do you enjoy? Obviously, you enjoy writing. I'm terrible at it. Or else I'd give it a shot. But actually, it's funny. There was a author that wanted to write a series of books, and it's interesting because I've never even looked them up, and this is years ago, and it's a fictional book, but one of the characters is based upon my character in real life, but none of it's real, and I had to take them out like on all these investigations, and they kind of studied what it was like to be a paranormal investigator, and it's pretty interesting. There's supposed to be several books out there, but one of the characters is supposed to be me, but really not me, because but it's pretty interesting.
The fun thing about writing, especially writing fiction, is anything that you're trying to work throughout your life, as far as emotional things, traumatic things and stuff, you can pour it into that book and actually find your own answers while you're writing it. I actually did quite a bit of that in Rise of the Fallen. So there are some deep moments where I'm actually having a conversation basically with myself, because the characters are going back and forth as two different parts, me asking questions and stuff, and then me answering those questions.
So do you think do you think there's other exterior characters helping you with that, you think, or
most likely.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the archangels and stuff in the book is based on my understanding of them. And so the way they talk, the way they act is very, very much my relationship with them and how I understand them.
Oh, right on.
So it doesn't really match, the biblical sense with everything.
Right. Well,
Same thing with when I'm working on the sequel and stuff about Lucifer and Samael and this and that. So it takes that different twist to it for me.
It's a very unique perspective then on the whole.
Pam is asking you a question, Raymond. I don't know if what is on your bucket list?
It depends on the bucket list you're asking about.
Which bucket list, Pam?
Investigative sites, just things I want to accomplish. Because I've got a few bucket lists.
Mm-hmm. So where are you located again? Is it Alabama? Are you in Alabama? Kentucky?
Yeah. I'm in Kentucky. I'm in basically the foothills of Appalachia.
Oh, yeah.
Over toward the eastern coal fields. Actually, I'm just north. I'm right next to West Virginia, basically.
There's a lot of history. There's a lot of history down there, huh? A lot.
The current bucket list. The current bucket list.
Well, there's quite a few different things as far as a current bucket list. I've got a list of locations I would like to visit, a lot of places I would like to go. One is London, England. I want to go over there and investigate Whitechapel because I want to go looking for Jack the Ripper.
Yes.
I want to visit Ireland. If I'm going that far, I might as well just jump across and visit Ireland because there's a lot of family history from there. Australia, because I have a brother that lives there.
Oh.
And if we're looking at other locations, I would love to be able to get into the Tsar's Palace in St. Petersburg, Russia. That would be number one bucket list place, and I know it's going to be untouchable anytime soon. So,
good choices.
But it would be cool.
Good choices.
It would be phenomenal because I've always had a fascination with the Romanov family.
Yes.
And considering that was their last home, I would love to see what I can get from that.
Well, hopefully, you'll get an opportunity to go check those sites out. No, that's very good. Very, very good list.
It is. If you go to London, please invite me. Yeah.
Invite
us all, Raymond. Take us all with you.
London and Ireland. Don't mind.
I have a fascination for Scotland. So if you go, we can just scooch over there for a little bit.
And then just kind of swarm across and visit Ireland. Yep, it works.
Yeah, there you go. Just everywhere. Yeah.
So it
sounds like a road trip.
It's all fairly close together. It's not a huge landmass there. So.
Yeah, I mean, if you get to a certain point in Scotland, you can take the ferry across to Ireland. So there's always that option too. It may be cheaper than a plane ticket.
So do you have a book that's in the works that you can say, or another one, or?
See here, what is the other one I'm working on? Oh, it's called The Kingdom of Ruin. And this one is very much more sci-fi thriller compared to the others.
Okay.
And this one is basically about a parasite that starts taking over humanity. And however, the host can only live for so long before it takes and basically drains it of its life force, and then it dies and it has to find another host very quickly.
Interesting. And you're writing all these books, and I can't even get mine very much started well. So I got to give it to you. Let's see. The first book. Yeah, that's what I was kind of. Raymond has first-time book writer think she means as. She's writing a book.
Yeah.
So yeah. Same here, Pam.
My
She's
advice
asking, yeah.
for a first time book writer is take it one chapter at a time. If you only view it as one chapter, then it's not nearly as daunting as looking at the whole book. So if you focus on that one chapter and write it till it's complete, then you focus on the next chapter and write it till it's complete. That way it's smaller blocks and it's not as scary as, well, if I had this 400 or 500 page book, you're only looking at one chapter at a time.
That's smart.
Good advice.
And Chad can write a book. I wish he would. Some of the things we've talked about, it'd be very interesting.
Maybe someday.
It helps with the, ADHD, autism thing.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Being
All
able
of
to,
us, I believe.
Therapeutic. Oh yeah.
it
Yeah,
helps
I was actually diagnosed with that and real bad when I was younger. And yeah, it's I can see where that'd probably be therapeutic. The thought of it is overwhelming, but maybe it would be the opposite. For me, I don't know. But maybe someday. Not the only. There's a lot of people that have recommended that I should write a book about some of my experiences, but we'll see.
I mean, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta.
You have memories to go off of. Mine is whenever I read, I can see everything happening. I can hear everybody talking. I can see, the way they look, everything. When I write, it's the reverse. I reverse engineered it. So I can see everybody. I can hear everything they're saying, and I can see everything that they're doing and hear their thoughts too. So I'm literally reverse engineering the way I read.
What's going on? Yeah. Interesting.
I self-publish, which is a lot of work because there's a lot of marketing in it.
Raymond, I don't know if you saw the intro. A lot of people, after zone out for a minute, is for the whole network because we have, different shows and things. And of course, more coming. But we have a publisher who is one of our sponsors. Her name is Vicky. Vicky's Gonna Kill Me Paplo. I don't think I got that right, but I don't know if you've ever heard of her. But you're successful, obviously, but I think Pam has maybe spoke with her. I don't know if that would be an option for you if you need some help, but that's one way to go about it.
Like I said, my books tend to push limits with, there are trigger warnings for a reason.
So which one would you recommend for somebody to start with? Because they all seem interesting.
It depends on your flavor. Honestly, if you like more of the supernatural stuff,
of course,
either The Witches of Raven Hollow or Rise of the Fallen. Like I said, they both come with a lot of graphic content. All of them do, except for the children's book, because that'd be a horrible way to write a children's book. And if you're into like serial killers and stuff, definitely I Am Brian or Corruption of Pangea, because you get a bit of it in Pangea because none of them are afraid to, off somebody. And of course, like I said, Brian, you really dive into the way he thinks and the way he sees what he does. And he honestly has this very, very much, he wants to be the superhero, even though he's just a murderer. So he sees himself as the good guy. But there's a lot of twists and turns in that book and stuff. And I don't want to ruin it because the way I came up with it was just hilarious. And
thanks for watching, Pam. She's going to.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Very
Have a good
much.
night.
Yeah.
Have a good evening. All sounds like fascinating stuff, though. It does.
It does.
Definitely gonna have to check out your books. Definitely.
Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. Oh, very interesting. Thank you for coming on the show. Are we got a little bit to go, or?
We can go over a little bit.
Okay.
I was going to say, Chad, what do you have coming up? Because you haven't
Oh,
said lately. I'd like to know some of that too.
there's a few things we got coming up. We're working on. Did I mention that we're working on maybe going back to that location where, well, with the thing that followed me home, we're working on that right now.
My favorite location, or the one that's
Well,
got
your favorite location. We definitely have. We did go back to that place, and we have some evidence that is something we captured that is pretty cool.
Oh, you know, want to hear it.
Yeah. Well, it's audio and it's a video, so we actually got some video evidence of something that's pretty bizarre.
Yeah.
I'll have to extract and get that out there because
Raymond, Renee.
Yes,
Renee
is my sister from another mister and my co-host for Different Things and Cemeteries.
Oh,
I
cool.
thought that. Okay.
So you have a podcast also that you do?
Yep.
Right on. Cool. Very cool.
Well, tell us about it because we're going to promote you too. So.
I mean, we talk about everything from serial killers to horror movies, and right now we're doing the entire month on the Salem witch trials. Last month we did the Atlanta child murders. We've covered Bundy and Gacy and just several different serial killers, some lesser known, some more obvious ones. And I know in May we are probably going to focus on H.H. Holmes.
Oh, cool.
And that's going to probably be a month long divulge into his world because there's so much to unfold with Mr. Mudgeon. And just taking the route that we have this year as far as making it, more than just one show about the subject has given us a whole lot more space to take and actually dig into it and find as much information as we can, because we've even found the original court documents and stuff that they've had.
Wow.
And we talk about those in the show and stuff. And so, yeah, it's a lot of fun. And we just like to share information about them. And even cases where like they're still missing kids or victims haven't been identified and stuff, we share those links. That way, people can try to reach out and see if that's actually someone that they were related to.
Right. Well, we do we have on our channel the serial killer show before this show. That we talked about Lizzie Borden tonight. So.
Lizzie Borden.
Nice. I've been to that house.
I have not, and most of the other people on the show had. So I was like, I am so jealous.
How's that one rate for us being
It's fun to visit. I don't know if I would take and investigate it. But it was fun to take the tour and to visit and stuff. And I actually did catch a picture with a face showing up in a mirror while I was there.
Ooh.
So that was fascinating.
Cool.
But I don't know if I'd spend the night, mainly because I don't really expect to get a whole lot.
That's what I've heard. I've heard that it's an interesting place, but it's not.
It's very hit and miss.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. Is there anywhere in the United States that you would like to visit in particular?
I'd like to go back to Gettysburg. I'd like to investigate like where the witch trials actually took place and stuff.
Locations.
There's a jail in Eastern Texas I'd like to go back to. It's a former jail that has been turned into a coffee shop.
Wow.
Okay.
I was describing things to the lady that ran it and stuff, to the point that she was able to verify with her experiences that stuff was actually happening, and invited me up into the cell area where I have a voice recording where you can hear me talking and stuff, and all of a sudden the sound just completely muffles out with the phone laying in my hand like this.
Oh.
Touching the mics. And eventually you start hearing wind blow, which is impossible because the windows are all sealed off. And then you start hearing drums.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So is it a Native American site? Or is it?
No, apparently there was a tree right next to the building that they used to hang people from.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, there's a really, I think I've talked to Gwen about this. There's a really active location like 2 blocks from here that the Oskaloosa. Did I ever talk to you about that place? Because it used to be Gallows used to be out there, and that's one of the things that, yeah, 2 blocks away. I've never investigated it. I should probably go check it out because it's supposed to be really active.
It was right there.
That's right there.
Very battleground here in Kentucky, because
I hear those are really active. The old Civil War sites.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that goes on.
That's why Gettysburg is such a draw too. I had so many fun experiences there before I investigated it.
Yeah.
Hearing people scream names in my ears and hearing whispers from small alleys in between houses and all kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the whole location and the whole region is active. It spreads out the ways. Yeah. Well, a lot of tragedy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Lots of lives lost there. Very interesting. No, those are all very fascinating places. Unfortunately, I hope I get to check out some of them. It'd be fun.
Yeah.
But Ireland's a good one. Great, you mentioned Ireland. The other location. What was it? Was it the what's the White Tower, Bloody Tower? Is that the one you want to go?
Whitechapel.
Or the Whitechapel.
Yeah. That's the area where Jack the Ripper killed.
Oh, Jack the Ripper. Okay. Yeah, the other ones were King Henry VIII, as wives executed. Correct. The Bloody Tower, the Black Tower.
Yeah.
Or something. Yeah. Yeah. One thing about Europe is lots of history there. We need to go check out some of those castles, like Leap Castle. I've always wanted to check that one out in Ireland.
That'd be interesting.
Some of the German castles too. That'd be fun.
Sure. All those castles are a good bet. You need to see what goes bump in the night in there. See how different it is from what we have over here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's like where you are. I'm in the South. I'm in South Carolina, and I know Raymond is South, but the stuff here compared to what you guys talk about up there, it's different.
Different stuff. Yeah, it's what I've noticed is that there's a lot of like where I grew up and I started investigating first. Those locations are so much different than what we have up here, even where I'm at now. Insane. I mean, I was really, really fortunate because some of the locations that were kind of like my laboratory, you go check them out. They're right there. I mean, they turned out to be really, really unique. Now that I've investigated abroad, and I got pretty lucky. They're really, really active, insane, really interesting stuff. Stuff that people hear about it and they're like they don't believe it because it's insane. Like some of the activity, like that location, your favorite location.
Yeah.
If you're ever up here, we're gonna have to go check that one out. Since
Well, I am coming up north this summer, and I'm gonna see what I can do. So
nice.
Well, you guys, it's been about an hour and 11.
Right.
So why don't you tell people how to get in touch with you, or just promote yourself? Do whatever you tell them. Tell them something.
You can find my books on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Apple. You name it, the books are available. You can find any of my investigations on News Paranormal on YouTube, or when I'm working with Spirit Mechanics on the Spirit Mechanics YouTube page, and that's CIX instead of CICS at the end of, NICS, words, letters, yes.
Yes.
And then you can catch my podcast on Raven Hollow Productions on Facebook and on YouTube. I know this coming weekend I'll be with Spirit Mechanics in Elizabethtown, Kentucky. We are going to be at the Light It Up Fest, which is going to be a lot of fun. Connor sisters are going to be there. And there's one event inside the event where there's going to be 5 different channelers.
Oh.
Going at different times. So that's going to be fascinating to watch. At the end of the month, you'll be able to catch me with Spirit Mechanics at Sacred Journey Market in Cincinnati, Ohio. And that's going to be a lot of fun too, because we've got Mr. Ken Boggle coming and a few others, and it's usually a blast. So.
Well, that's cool.
Very fun. Very good.
How about you, Chad? You gonna put it out there? You got something coming up here?
Mine's pretty simple for right now. Chad Zumwalt at Facebook.
Yep.
Put me on Facebook, and I'll get in touch with you if you get a hold of me.
Or you can tell me if you want.
Or
if you can't get him,
Quinn, and then she can get a hold of me, and one way or another, you can definitely get your message out there.
Yeah.
We're definitely gonna have some stuff coming up, some fun stuff, and it's just gonna get better from here. So, yeah, thank you for everyone that tuned in to Chasing Nightmares. Thank you, Raymond, for being on the show. Appreciate it.
Yes.
Also, thank you, very talented Quinn, for being sure.
Thank you.
To make sure we don't get out of hand.
I have to control you some. No, I'm just
got
joking.
you.
No, I have good people.
No, thank you. I appreciate everything that the network's doing, and network's getting bigger, better.
They are. And I have to give it to Raymond. I see him, even if he doesn't stay the whole show, I see him pop in and he'll comment. Thank you. Please keep doing that. Please. Yeah. And now that I know about your shows and stuff, I will. Yeah, we support our people. We collaborate. We have people that share ours. We share theirs. And matter of fact, if you guys don't mind, a friend of ours, Mark, who does a show on Wednesday night, he's got a Paracon coming. And I would love to run his little ad for it if you guys are cool with it. And anybody that's out there, or you guys also, please, if you can make it.
Well, Sean can tell you I support anybody and everybody I can.
Yeah. So. Well, we love it. We're not one of these that are like competing. Not like that. We want everybody to succeed.
I just support everybody.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Absolutely. We're all on the same team now. People forget that.
There you go.
All righty. Well, thank you so much for being here, Raymond, again.
Yeah.
Thank you. Would love to have you back sometime.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Hey.
And sign us out there, Chad.
You all have a good evening, and thank you for tuning in to Chasing Nightmares. Thank you to everybody that viewed.
Thank you.
And see you next time.
All right. I'm gonna run this little ad for Mark. Here you go.
Brace yourself for the Paranormal Rockdown, July